Good evening, afternoon, night, morning, whenever you find a way to watch this podcast. It is me, Omar Shanti, Borja, the Burger Popper, joining you again with my good friend Bobby Wilson, the TNT College Football Podcast for the Lambert Trophy, the race to the Lambert Trophy, Week 7. We're already past the halfway point, and man, at the halfway point, we're still finding out a lot about these teams. One team in particular, which we'll try not to talk too much about because everyone is talking about them in the Northeast, but man, what a week it was. Aside from that, but Bobby, thanks again for joining. Always enjoy doing this. How's everything going?
Going great, Omar. Thank you as always for having me. I'm looking forward to this week's discussion, especially because a race that we thought was kind of done is now wide open.
Yeah, and I'm excited honestly because of how wide open it is. Like the possibilities
Hmm.
in my mind, just like looking at potential schedules with the old front runner, like with the schedule moving forward of the old front runner, and what they where they project, where it really is wide open, where it's like there is room for error for a few teams in the Lambert Trophy race, and this race could go anywhere. So I mean, I'm
Hmm.
excited to get into this and. Um, I mean, I'm just ready to dive in. So I think we'll probably just dive in first with your rankings, and then talk about which team impressed you, which team
Hmm.
disappointed you the most this past weekend. So, going on to your
Absolutely.
rankings, Bobby. So here we have a new number one in the Northeast for now. We have the Navy Midshipmen at number one for the Lambert Trophy rankings. Penn State at number two, which I disagree with a bit, which we'll show later with my rankings. Pitt at number three, which I think is a very worthy pick, and they could honestly jump up to number one. I think if they beat Florida State,
Hmm.
that's a very huge game for the Lambert Trophy. A good chance for a resume win for a Pitt team that kind of started rough this year. Delaware at number four. Rutgers at number five. Rutgers kind of being a hard luck team that we always talk about. They have a huge game this weekend this Friday night against Washington. That last year's game was absolutely outstanding. I think it went into overtime too, if I recall. I just know it was a really back and forth game out there in Piscataway. So Rutgers at number five, Syracuse at number six, but I think Syracuse is a team in decline, kind of sliding. They have not looked impressive the past couple weeks. UConn at number seven. UConn is a team that is trending up. I mean, they got a bye week this week, but I mean, they got a big Lambert Trophy game coming up on the 18th. In a rivalry, it's kind of been uneven against Boston College, so we'll see there. UConn could potentially overtake Syracuse. Temple at number eight, which Temple, man, like they were impressive. I mean,
What a
I did not.
win! What a win!
Yeah, Casey Keeler. I mean, man, that's a college football Hall of Famer if I ever seen
Yes,
one.
absolutely.
Amazing. I mean, I'm kind of scared as an Army fan. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of scared. So because that game might come down for bowl eligibility for us. So Temple at number eight, Army. Speaking of them at number nine, a very very Army football win against UAB. That's all I'll say about that. Um, Shameless plug. I'll be writing the keys to victory for Ask for Football. And spoiler alert, I begged, I pleaded on the Ask for Football podcast for Army to establish a fullback, and they did. They did, and that's what happened. It helped them against UAB. So they're at the nine spot. West Virginia continues their free fall at number 10. Don't be fooled by the 38-24 result. That game was not as close as indicated. West Virginia added a late
Right.
touchdown. That's a team, again, in free fall. Worse than Syracuse, I'd say. Buffalo at number 11, big win for their bowl hopes against Eastern Michigan. Really, an Eastern Michigan team they should have beat and should not have really hung around with, but they showed some grit. Taquan Roberson was really good, a guy that you're familiar with, Bobby, of course, being a former UConn great for a couple of years. Um, Offense looked stellar against Eastern Michigan as they should have. I think they're putting the pieces together in MAC play. Boston College at number 12. I thought with the win that UMass would trade spaces with them, but UMass
Hmm.
unfortunately did not win. But man, Boston College, really surprised with how they've looked so far. I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. So Bobby, going in or looking back at this week, which team disappointed? We'll start negative first. Which team disappointed you the most? I mean, I'm sure it's Penn State, obviously, but if I guess for lack of wearing out Penn State, which team disappointed you the most?
Well, I'm going to start with Penn State. How the heck do you lose to that pitiful UCLA team? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They don't even have. I'm a former coach. Okay, They don't even really have a coaching. I mean, there is a coaching staff, yes, but it's all interim and all this stuff. Nobody's going to keep their jobs. We all know this. Maybe new highs or whatever. But that's pitiful and ridiculous for Penn State to go to UCLA and lose that game. UCLA was supposed to go 0-12, and then let's be honest, Penn State's playoff shot is done. You can't lose to that UCLA team and make it back. I understand they still got Indiana and Ohio State on the schedule, but you can't lose that game. That's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm not again as a former coach, I would never ever call somebody to lose their job. But James Franklin is got to be on the thinnest of leashes right now. I would say because of just that terrible, terrible performance that they put out there. I guess if I had to say somebody else, it has to be Boston College because of their pitiful showing against Pitt. Give Pitt all the credit; they played tremendous, and I probably should even have them at 2 ahead of Penn State. Honestly, I put Penn State at 2 just because of the sheer fact that they still have a lot in front of them when it comes to Indiana, Ohio State, that they can still win the trophy without a doubt. But at the end of the day, do I really think they're going to after you lose at UCLA? Of course not. But Boston College, that performance was dreadful to say the least.
Yeah, I have to agree, really, on your Penn State points. I mean, which with my rankings, I took a different approach, which again, we'll see. I mean, for me, very fluid, but I really echo your standpoints too about, I just don't know how you can lose to UCLA really because I mean, as funny as it seems, I know that you as a former coach don't think gimmicks like this is funny, but I think the little game James Franklin thing, it's a funny joke. I mean, honestly, like I can only
It writes
imagine what he
itself.
goes through. It does, and it's funny to me because I remember. So I remember being a senior in high school 9 years ago. We had just moved into our home. So I remember like having our little TV and just watching the block field goal against Ohio State from our kitchen while I was washing dishes in our barely moved in home. And I'm thinking, wow, Penn State's back. Little did I know that would be their last top 10 or top 5 victory to date, which is mind blowing. I mean, that's what sticks out with the whole little game James Franklin narrative.
Mm-hmm.
That really sticks out. Like it's been 9 years. Yeah, I really don't want to wear out this headline. But Bobby, I guess on a positive note, like what team impressed you the most?
Well, I don't want to sit here and talk too much about UConn. We know I can talk about UConn forever, and this is the UConn team that we expected to see though all season long, honestly. And they executed offensively, defensively, and on special teams. They executed the entire game game plan to basically perfection, and it showed in a drubbing of FIU. So I'm not going to go too far into that. I do think that that's the most impressive performance, but I also want to say I know Navy didn't win by a lot, but the way that Navy and Air Force played as a guy who's a big option fan, triple fan like myself, and obviously you are too, Omar. The way that they won that football game, I think, was very, very impressive. Just the extra things that they had to do offensively, the stops that they had to make defensively. Of course, you're playing one of your arch rivals. It's never going to be an easy win. I don't care what their records are. So to go out and win that game the way that they did, I give them a lot of credit. I know a lot of people are going to look at that and say, "Oh, Air Force only has one win and all this and that," but you throw the records out the window when the academies play each other. So I got to give them a ton of credit, and I think that was an impressive win because of the way that they had to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I was surprised really. Oh, actually, I was surprised at the magnitude because we knew that Navy could throw the ball. We knew that Blake Horvath was an efficient passer. But I think the magnitude never did I imagine Blake Horvath crossing 300 passing yards. And he only did it on 26 throws and 20 completions, which just shows you honestly the play calling ability of Drew Cronick. Really, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. Whenever you have an efficient passing attack like that, it is the coaching staff or the offensive coordinator, the putting the team in the best position possible to have wide open receivers, to have explosive plays like that. And no discredit to Blake Horvath or even Eli Heidenreich, who had an amazing game. But man, like that just shows that Chronic is able to put his players in an amazing position scheme wise to have such efficient passing numbers, which I agree. I mean, it's your arch rival. It's an emotionally charged game, but the way that they were, because they honestly, I wouldn't say I wrote off Navy, but I was getting kind of cautious really early on when they fumbled and were about to go down 14-7, but for them to get a stop and then for Air Force to miss the field goal, just showed that they're just back into it. And it really didn't phase them. And even too, it's crazy to imagine that this happened. This game occurred with Alex Teska, their running back, being injured, only having one carry. So I mean, I'm equally as impressed. I know I got attacked this week for being too complimentary of our arch rivals, but I mean, I can't help but be impressed with the passing game, especially Eli Heidenreich too, who is now I want to say he's around 250, less than 300 yards from breaking Navy's all-time receiving record, which has stood since 1967. So, as a college football fan, you got to be rooting for at least that storyline to happen.
And he broke the touchdown record in that game this past Saturday too. I was watching that game, and it was just so much fun to watch that game. It really was. It was good football too. I mean, it's just like this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. Even Liam Zarka. Liam Zarka is going to be a problem for the Service Academy for Army and Navy over the next 3 years. I'm already dreading 3 years of Liam Zarka, which
that kid can play.
Yeah, flight suit Josh Allen. And I'm always going to say it, flight suit Josh Allen. I don't think I've seen an Air Force quarterback pass like him. Well, I guess Donald Hammond could pass really well, but not in the magnitude that Zarka is having to do and constantly delivering. So, really impressed. But this is not a Mountain West podcast, so I guess we'll move on. Going on to my rankings, and I know I hinted, Bobby, that you would be surprised. So it seems like it's like 2007 where the number 2 spot is fluctuating with different teams.
Hold on. I just want people to understand that I do not see your rankings before we come on air. I always send you mine. Yours. So these are my reaction is what we're getting live.
I know I'm not the best at sending my rankings. Thank goodness.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, you're very good at sending your rankings. I know for me, it's like I look at it, like I have an idea of who I want to rank, but like I look at the results, and then this is what I mean by being fluid. Because last week, I mean, you can look at, I think Temple, I want to say, was at number 9, but I did some thinking. So of course Navy's number 1. I did some thinking, but Temple's only losses are to Georgia Tech and Oklahoma.
Right.
So there is that factor of plausible deniability where maybe Temple can be good. Maybe Temple is a legitimate Lambert Trophy candidate. We'll see. We'll definitely see this next week when they play Navy on ESPN2. I mean, talk about a great spot for that game on ESPN2 in the mid-afternoon. But Temple's only losses are against Oklahoma and against Georgia Tech, and they have better losses than Pitt does. I mean, and I hate to use the term of better losses because I know I hate when they use that in the college football playoff.
This isn't the SEC.
Exactly, with the SEC. But I think when it's early October, when it's the second week of October, I think we can use that for now. I mean, we'll let Temple figure out if they're a Lambert Trophy candidate on their own because they will have plenty of games. Well, in conference play, where they'll have to prove it. At least this coming week with Navy, they might slide back down. Honestly, so I have Temple at number 2 for that reason, just because they're 3-2. They beat a solid UTSA team, or a team that we thought was solid. So following them, I have Pitt at 3-2. And honestly, I kind of fought with myself a little bit too, because Pitt is 3-2. They're an ACC team. Boston College is horrible. And if Central Michigan didn't lose to Akron, I want to say that would have been an easier decision for me to put them at number 2 instead of Temple. But it's just funny how it just works in dominoes. This team loses to that team and whatnot. But that was in my head where it's like, man, maybe the Central Michigan win wasn't as great a win as we first thought. So Pitt at number 3. I have Delaware at number 4 because their loss to Colorado is looking a bit worse each week. I know Colorado's 2-4 right now, and I think that if they would have beat Western Kentucky, I would have kept them at the 3 spot. But as it stands right now, their best wins against FIU. FIU just doesn't really look good, honestly, in Conference USA. I don't think they're going to make a bowl. Um, I know we talk about. I think FIU started very strong last year too.
Mm-hmm.
I think they started like 2-0 or something. We need to start talking about September FIU instead of September Maryland because they always kind of do this. I feel like, which which speaking of FIU, here's why I have Penn State at number 5. Like, yes, Penn State is 3-2, but Penn State has one of the worst strength of. I hate using the term strength of record, but their resume just is not there. Win over FIU, win over Villanova, and a win over Nevada. I don't think any of those teams have a winning record. I don't think Nevada has a winning record, which I can check right
No,
now.
they don't. They don't.
Yeah, they're 1-4. I know Jeff Choate's doing his best there, but it's just not there, right, for Nevada. So Penn State has really nothing to show for it except their bad name at number 5. So I feel like, so at number 6, Rutgers. I could have put Rutgers at number 5, honestly, with the win over Ohio. But I kept them lower, which there's an argument for to have Penn State slipping all the way down to number 6. So just I guess just I'll just leave that for what it is. Syracuse at number 7, UConn at number 8, which I know, like we talked about, UConn can rise at any moment. They have a strong shot at this trophy after Penn State lost because they're sitting pretty with only 2
That
losses.
Those Syracuse and Delaware losses is so narrow, but it's like it was, man, it was right there.
Yeah, and I can talk myself into it. If UConn runs the table, goes 10-2, and Delaware loses a couple games, I can talk myself into it, honestly, and giving UConn the trophy. West Virginia at 9 with the free fall. Army at 10. Army's gonna have to show me a little bit more, honestly. Like, I don't think they're a bad football team. I just think that maybe if they beat Temple the week after, might even have to catapult them over Rutgers, honestly, put them in that 6th spot. Because I mean, if Tarleton continues to, I mean, you shouldn't lose an FCS team. Actually, let me not be double faced or 2-faced. You shouldn't lose an FCS team. But that being said, like, Tulane and Kansas State are good wins for any team. Buffalo at number 11, kind of constant there. Boston College at 12 because they don't have an FBS win. UMass at number 13. So yeah, I guess the bottom 3 is constant, if anything, sadly. As for the teams that disappointed me, I'm gonna go with Syracuse, really. And I know that they're going through a quarterback change, but I think you want to see more from the offense. I think that they would have been more competitive, at least against SMU, than losing by 13 in that one. And I think Syracuse is a team that's in danger of not even making the bowl game. Looking at their schedule, it looks like the Pitt Syracuse game in a couple weeks might be, in retrospect, a bowl eligibility elimination game, because looking at both of those teams' remaining schedules, I think that both those teams only have about 2 or 3 more guaranteed wins on their schedule. Well, I think 3 games they will be favored in, looking at both those teams. And that's counting their matchup with each other, depending on how the spread is. But Syracuse kind of disappointed me because, I mean, maybe we put too much stock in the Clemson game. That could be true. But the past couple weeks, it's been a lot of growing pains at quarterback. I mean, I know Ricky Collins is young, but I know Fran Brown's scheme was really good. I mean, Kyle McCord was in his first year in Fran Brown's scheme last year, and he excelled. But that also could have been his experience as a starter at Ohio State. So Syracuse is my biggest disappointment. My biggest pleasant surprise, was UMass. Honestly, for a second straight week. Maybe that disqualifies them from being a surprise, but the defense looked really amazing. Only allowing 21 points against Western Michigan, but the offense, there really isn't much to say about the offense, honestly. I don't know what else they could do at the quarterback position, but the defense can only do so much, and they play Kent State this week. I mean, so maybe they'll get their first win. I don't. If they don't beat Kent State, I don't know when they're going to find a win on that schedule, sadly. So I know, kind of long-winded, Bobby, but going on just about trophy scenarios. Now that we have Penn State out of the top spot, just have a couple scenarios I want to float to you. So 10-2 Navy with losses to Memphis and Notre Dame, or a 10-2 Delaware with the win over Wake Forest. Who do you think takes the trophy?
Interesting. Again, I think it comes down to Uh, I think Navy would still be playing for a conference championship at that point. Um, the thing that stinks for Delaware is they're not able to play for that conference championship, which hurts. Which it hurts them in this scenario. I really do think. So I think I give it to Navy, just because of that fact. Most deserving, and I hold that conference championship, even if it's the conference championship game appearance. Especially if you win the conference title, I think that is probably one of the most deserving things that you could do in this when it comes to the rankings and this trophy standpoint. Again, like I said last week, I think what Delaware has done is absolutely tremendous, and I think they're going to continue to win. They had a very good showing against Western Kentucky, and if they didn't have that pick six, I really think they win that game. And they're in a different conversation here. They still have an opportunity to win the trophy. But if they win that game last week, I think they're one of the top two, three even teams in this discussion, um, moving forward. So, but in the scenarios you laid out, I got to go Navy.
Yeah, I that's something I overlooked. I overlooked the conference championship part because, as we have to remind, we don't have to, but we do like to remind the viewers and listeners that the trophy isn't best team in the Northeast. It's most accomplished team. So conference championship is huge, and it's unfortunate that the transitioning teams in Conference USA are really carrying their weight this year for the league.
Mm-hmm.
And Delaware could, they could have a really nice year. They might even get into a bowl game if there's not enough bowl eligible teams. But the whole conference championship thing with Navy, which I think two conference losses would toss Navy out of the conference race. Um, Honestly, I think in that scenario, I know it said Notre Dame and Memphis, but I think in that scenario, if Navy loses two conference games, that might be a tougher call too. Honestly, because you have a 10-2 Delaware
Right.
team, 10-2 Navy team, excuse me, and a Delaware team that would have had a win against against a Power Four team in Wake Forest. So I would have to. I mean, I think I do have to agree with you on that one. That I would still take Navy, honestly. Um, but I mean, with the way that the season goes, there is also a scenario too where even more chaos gets thrown into it, where you have 8-4 Penn State and also Navy losing to Notre Dame, USF, North Texas, and Memphis. I mean, those are all tough games. Very tough stretch. Like, it just shows the depth in the American. I mean, so with that, then I guess so you have 8-4 Penn State or an 8-4 Navy team with losses to all four of those teams, which now we're getting crazy, which I think this is going to be a crazy year for the Lambert Trophy.
Man, that would mean chaos would have to ensue with other teams too. I mean, that's tough. I think at that point, I would still give it to Navy because one of Penn State's losses is against UCLA, who is arguably the worst Power Four program in the country. Where Navy's losses would be to four teams that are all competing to make the playoff at that point. So I think that you have to look at it from that perspective and say that I would still go Navy in this scenario.
Okay. That yeah, I think I would have to agree. Yeah, because I guess in terms of accomplishment too, which we're stretching it a little bit, the Commander in Chief's trophy is an accomplishment. It's a very huge
Yes,
accomplishment.
that's
I'm not
true.
going to
That's true.
underestimate. I'm not gonna underplay the seriousness of the Commander in Chief's trophy. Which, in that case, that is a trophy and an accomplishment that Navy would have that Penn State would not have. So that also too could be in the consideration. But I think, like you said, Bobby, like the UCLA loss, it's just even if Penn State, which they probably will go to a bowl game, they'll probably have a strong season. I mean, I think the way that we both see it, that they project to be 8-4, and 8-4 is great for a lot of programs. For Penn State, it doesn't really hit the mark. That's a discussion for another time.
Mm-hmm.
But the UCLA loss is just such a black eye too, which maybe for all we know that UCLA lost to some really darn good football teams to start the year. I mean, New Mexico could be really good in the Mountain West. I don't know. The Mountain West is very hard to predict this year for
It
some
is.
reason.
Yes.
UNLV too. UNLV could honestly run the table. They can go 12-0,
Yeah.
11-1, which I guess I can't fault UCLA for losing on the road by one score to UNLV. So I mean, it's just tough, but I don't think UCLA, like even in as much grace and leeway I want to give Penn State, I don't think UCLA is that type of team as it is. I don't think that I think that the loss to UNM was embarrassing. I think UNM is maybe a 6 or 7 win team, and I don't think UCLA will make a bowl game. That being said, though, if Navy wins the Lambert Trophy with 4 losses, that will be I'm looking at the list of winners. That would be the most losses they've had in a Lambert Trophy winning season. That Navy's had in a Lambert Trophy winning season by far. 1963 was a previous high in terms of losses for Navy. They went 9-2 that year, but one of those losses came in the Cotton Bowl against Texas. So really, they were just a one-loss team that won the Lambert Trophy. So would definitely be an odd year and almost unprecedented if Navy were to win it with an 8-4 record. But just shows how much depth the American has. So Bobby, just one more question for you. With so much chaos now in the race, do you see Pitt and Syracuse, I guess, rising above that 6-6, 7-5 benchmark and contending for the trophy? I look at their schedule and I already see. I know Pitt has off the bat. I think they got Georgia Tech, Miami. I just had to pull. I think they have Georgia Tech, Miami. I know they have Notre Dame for sure.
They have Florida State this week. I mean,
Florida State this week too. And like I said, I have them at 6 wins. So maybe college football is crazy. The ACC is a very fluid conference, so maybe they could win a couple of those. Syracuse is no better. They have Georgia Tech, Miami, and Notre Dame themselves. I guess if those teams were to pull some upsets, go 8-4, would you give them the trophy over Penn State per se, or even Navy? Honestly, even maybe a 10-2 Navy against an 8-4 ACC team.
I mean, if Navy's 10-2 going against an 8-4 ACC team, I'm still going to give it to Navy in that scenario. But just for the sake of this argument, I just don't see it with my eyes that Syracuse has what it takes to be able to do that right now. It's just unfortunate that injury at QB that they suffered with Angeli playing the way that he was has really hurt them. In these past couple weeks, they've just really struggled offensively, and I just don't see that changing, unfortunately, for them. But Pitt has at least shown some signs of things moving in the right direction. We saw that last week against BC. You put up 48 points. You're doing something right. And I know BC is not the best team this year, but you're still getting yourself a lot of confidence going into Florida State this week. They got to go down there. I mean, that's going to be a tough one for both teams because Florida State's coming off a couple losses. You know, they're licking their wounds and they want to get back in the win column. They have to. But Pitt at the same time has a real opportunity to make some noise with that win. Like you said earlier, I mean, if they go down to Tallahassee and beat Florida State, there's a real scenario where we're bumping them to number 2, even potentially higher if Navy loses to Temple. I mean, we'll see, but there's a real scenario where Pitt can climb to the top of the list next week in our rankings.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like for me, it's hard to tell if, and you're a former coach, like, so you know this all the time. It's hard to tell if Alabama just had a bad game against Florida State in week 1. Was week 1 Ty Simpson's first start at quarterback? So definitely a lot of factors that could have played into it. So it's hard to tell if Florida State is actually a really good team in the ACC. So I mean, Pitt could definitely knock them off there, pull off an upset. I just don't see it. I'm inclined to believe that Florida State is a good team. I think that
Me too.
I think that Virginia is really good this year. They're having a really amazing year, especially with Chandler Morris at quarterback. And I think that Miami, of course, is definitely for real. I mean, I don't want to jinx them. I don't think that they're gonna have a late season meltdown again. I really don't want. I don't want to jinx them. And I hope
no, they definitely don't seem like it. I mean, they've been very consistent this year.
Yeah, and I hope it didn't. I hope I didn't jinx them. So, yeah, like I don't think that Florida State is a bad team by any stretch. I do think that they are better, and I think that the spread on here about 2 scores is right. I mean, I think I need one more start from Mason Heitschel to know if he is for
Mm-hmm.
real.
Right.
But even then, like, what a surprise, because you would have thought that Eli Holstein had the QB1 job solidified
Right.
for Pitt. And I think that's part of the issue too, where a lot of the teams that are kind of struggling in our rankings are having quarterback issues. I know UMass, of course, comes to mind because, like, obviously, like, I cover UMass, but obviously they're having quarterback issues. Buffalo has been slowed down by quarterback problems. Where, I mean, that's a team that should be honestly, they should honestly be 4-2, maybe even 5-1. I mean, I know you covered the UConn Buffalo game very intently, but Taquan Roberson is the nucleus of that offense. I mean, they could easily
Mm-hmm.
win that one, but I think with Pitt too, Pitt is just a team that's just haunted by quarterback troubles, quarterback inconsistency, and I just don't see it working out for them, and for them to pull those upsets that they need to really contend for the trophy.
I don't disagree with that at all. They just it's like you said. I mean, they've had those inconsistencies, and like you said, I mean, you laid it out pretty darn perfectly with the teams, especially at the bottom. You look at the issues that they've had from the quarterback perspective, and then you even have like Penn State has had the same starter, but it's been the inconsistencies that we've seen. Navy and I'll say UConn has had consistent quarterback play as well. Joe Figiano has over 1,500 yards passing and no interceptions. But Navy has had the uh, the consistent play at quarterback the entire season. You know that they're going to continue to have that throughout the year as long as he stays healthy, which I pray that he does because he's such a fun player to watch. And I think that that's kind of what sets them apart thus far this season is just that they've had that guy. That yes, some of their games have been close, sure, but they've had that consistent play at quarterback. They got a winner, and you look at like the team you have at second, Omar, with Simon at quarterback at Temple. I mean, he's been very very consistent. He's played fantastic, and I think that has a lot to do with Temple's rise. Obviously, Casey Keeler does as well. He's just an unbelievable football coach. But you look at the teams that are the majority of the teams that are at the top of our list are having that consistent quarterback play. Delaware is as well, even with a backup quarterback who's just played tremendous since he's taken that role. You just can see. I mean, obviously, we know like the quarterback position is the most important position in football. But I mean, obviously, in this scenario we're looking at, like you get consistent play from those guys, I mean, you're going to have success.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I missed one team too. I mean, Army as well.
Yeah.
Inconsistency, back and forth, really affected them. So I know that expanded into more of the scope of what we're talking about in terms of scenarios, just breaking down what I guess has been the X factor in those teams' struggles, Pitt and Syracuse particularly. But I think it's just interesting too that we're able to have these discussions now that Penn State lost to UCLA and the race is even more wide open, that we can
Hmm.
factor in more teams and more of these scenarios too. Which, I mean, great point too on Evan Simon. Evan Simon is really lost in in the
He is. He's
in the
played
landscape.
tremendous.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx him because he has a certain stat line so far, but yeah, like, I mean, and I've always thought too, like, I thought last year, I remember being scared before they played Army. I thought, like, if they can protect this guy, after the Army game, I think Army sacked him like 5 or 6 times. Like, I'm like, if they can
Hmm.
protect Evan Simon, like, this guy can be really good, honestly.
Hmm.
And here he is. He's getting good protection. I mean, and it's working out too. Like, Temple might make a bowl game this year. Like, it's very exciting. No longer are they the laughing stock of the American. So
Right.
going on to the slate this week. I know we talked about, or at least mentioned, most of these games. Like, Temple Navy looks to be a better
Game of the
game.
week.
I think so too. Number one versus number two for me. So I mean, a little bit of judgment day there too. So Temple Navy, and also too, I forgot to mention, like, Peter Clark at tight end for Temple. I mean, he is currently the highest
Hmm.
graded tight end on Pro Football Focus.
Hmm.
I don't really know what goes into those grades, but just an
Nobody
amazing
does.
story. Yeah, no one does. I don't do math. Like just an amazing story because he's from the UK actually too. So he went to the UK's NFL academy, and here he is. I mean, so yeah, so he's having a great year too. Just another beneficiary of just the resurgence at Temple. So should honestly, I think that one will be a high scoring affair. I think we'll see a good amount of points in that one for Temple and Navy. Additionally, too, we got Penn State Northwestern. Of course, Penn State looking to bounce back. They got the 1990s throwbacks with the white collars and the end zone scheme there. Should be nice on the eyes, that game. We talked about Pitt versus Florida State. Of course, a little bit in detail there too. A big game for Pitt to make
Big game.
huge game too. I can't remember the last time they beat Florida State. Actually, did they play last year? I don't know if they played last year.
I can't remember, honestly.
Because I was going to say, like, I can't remember the last time that Pitt actually beat Florida State, which maybe was 2021, but got to check on that. But while I check on that, Boston College versus Clemson too. That's another one too. I know that we've kind of given up on Boston College's hopes for the Lambert Trophy, but maybe they can get the season back on track by beating.
And Clemson in general as well.
Yeah, yeah, too. Yeah, Clemson needs that. Honestly, looking at their schedule for bowl eligibility, that is generally. I think that's a game that they generally do need to become bowl eligible. But I mean, Boston College too. I can't remember the last time that they beat Clemson. I know they came very close in 2020. That one still hurts to think of too because man, they were just so close to beating Clemson in that game. They had the lead too. They just blew that lead in that one in 2020. But that one should be I don't think that'll be a close game, but if Boston College can pull it off, that would be good for them. Rutgers Washington is another sleeper game as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, like
There could be a lot of points in that one.
oh yeah. Should be a lot of points. Like I know we talk about Ethan Kaliak Manis, and I know that this is outside of our region, but Damon Williams having what a
Man,
year.
he's good.
Yeah, he is. Like I watched Apple Cup. That's the one Washington game I watched this year extensively. Like he was a delight to watch in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so okay, so it turns out that Pitt did beat Florida State in 2020 during the pandemic. So and they've only met once since then in 2023, which Florida State had took. And then to round out the Northeast schedule, we got Army versus Charlotte. Army should take advantage of a very bad Charlotte run defense. Hopefully, get back to 500 in this roller coaster of a season already for the Black Knights. Hopefully, they don't look ahead to Tulane because Tulane will be a huge game next week for them, or on the 18th. And then UMass Kent State. That one should be entertaining. I mean, one of those something's got to give for one of those teams. Kent State hasn't beat an FBS opponent, I think, since 2022. They said, while UMass has not beaten an FBS opponent since 2023, I think. So it has been a long time for both those teams. Hopefully, it just comes down to quarterback play, like we talked about briefly for UMass. I mean, they have tried 3 different guys. AJ Harrison looked like the guy towards the end, honestly. I don't think he's getting a fair shot. That's what a lot of the fan base is saying. I mean, they want to rely, like UMass coach Joe Harris-Simiak wants to rely more on Brandon Rose, Grant Jordan. They're his experienced transfer guys, but it hasn't really worked out. AJ Harrison has the bigger upside for the program, being a younger guy too that has been in the program in the Don Brown years. So we'll see there. We'll definitely see there. That one I think will definitely be a competitive one. I think UMass's defense will come up huge in that one. As for their offense, I mean, I want to say that they'll score just enough just to win, but we'll see.
There's a scenario where UMass moves out of last place here.
Oh,
and I don't mean that, and I don't mean that facetiously. I don't. I UMass has a very legitimate defense. They really do. It's just the offense has just really, really hurt them.
And it's frustrating. It really is because like last year was the other way around. It was the inverse, I think. I mean,
right.
Yeah, like last 2 years actually. Like Tyson Fomachan, if he could stay healthy, with that offense. I mean, and even when he was healthy, the defense was really doing him no favors. I mean, like last year they put up 34 points, I want to say, on Liberty, ended up losing in overtime. I mean, you put up 34 points actually it was on the road. I think it was at Liberty, but you put up 34 points. Like you should win the game. Like but the defense just failed them last year. And this year it's the other way around. I mean, the defense did everything they could against Western Michigan. And in fact, UMass left as much as 17 points on the field yesterday or last week against Western Michigan
Mm-hmm.
because they were in the red zone twice. And I think that I think they were in the red zone twice and they missed a turnover on downs in Western Michigan territory. So that's a 9 to 17 point swing in a 21 to 23 or 21 to 3 loss. So hopefully
Mm-hmm.
the Minutemen figure it out, but really kind of a light slate looking at it this week. I mean, a lot of Northeast teams are on bye weeks this week. Um, but I think we've hit all of our topics and scenarios for this week. Bobby, do you have anything final, Dad, before we sign off?
No, I'm really looking forward to that Navy Temple game. I know we've said it a couple times, but this is I don't want to say we're going to find out if Temple's for real because they have plenty more tests on their schedule. But I'm really excited for this game. I really am, and I'm glad that it's on. It's ESPN2, correct?
Yes,
I'm
yes, me too.
I'm glad it's on TV for people to see this game.
Yeah, I think like I'm really intrigued too by the fact that it was selected for ESPN2, really. Um, just because like you kind of I mean, I kind of forget who Memphis plays this week if they even do play, but I mean for a team in the American to get a slot on a Saturday on ESPN or ESPN2, it's huge for the conference.
Hmm.
And I see things like that happening within the league, and it just makes me proud to be in the American Conference as an Army fan, where it's like if we're an independent, our road games would probably be on ESPNU or ESPN Plus, where we haven't been on ESPN2 in a conference game yet or ESPN this year yet. But I mean, like it's great to see the conference get exposure that other Group of Five leagues, kind of wish that they had on a more frequent basis. So, but yeah, that one too, like that one should have strong ratings, honestly. And I
Hmm.
do think, as much as I hate to say it, I do think from a casual perspective, I think that it's more casual fan friendly